Hi, my name is Devin Ashby, and I'm super excited to be here today. I'm with the Power of Connection series, and this class will be the science of family connection. Again, my name is Devin. I work for Family Search International and have for a couple of years, and I'm excited to do this today. I hope after this ends that you'll have some new ideas on how to connect with your family and appreciate that connection a little bit better. So to start, I'm not going to play this video for you, but you can find it on YouTube. It's an Ikea Christmas commercial from 2018. So you can Google Ikea Christmas commercial from 2018. And they do this game, the commercial, the target was in Spain. And so it's in Spanish, but it's subtitled. And the title is Bienvenidos a Familia Avisados. And they do this game. They invite like 5 families to come into this big room, and they play this very simple game. And the rules are, if you know the answer, you can stay at the table. And if you don't know the answer, you actually have to leave. So there's all these tables, there's all these families together. And the announcer comes on and starts asking questions. And it's all about like social media. How did these famous people meet? What are the latest Instagram filters? And what can you do on Snapchat? And do you know this dance? And all the young people are answering these questions. And then some of the older ones know it as well. There's kids, teens, adults, and elderly people as well. Well, after a couple of those questions that everybody knows, they actually do a transition. They start asking family questions like, how did so-and-so meet their spouse? Or what's the great dream of your wife? Or what's your son's favorite music? And it's really interesting because none of them know the answers to any of those questions. And one by one, they all have to leave. And at the end, there's this older gentleman, this is probably a grandpa on the table, and he's by himself because nobody knew anymore about the family. And they interview and they ask him, they say, how are you feeling? And he's like, I feel pretty bad that people don't know simple things about me. And then they ask the youth and they ask other people about this experience. And they basically go through and say, why do we know so much about famous people? I don't even know what I should about my family. And when mom apologizes to her son for not knowing something that he cares a lot about. So why do I even share this commercial? You should go watch it. But why am I even sharing this? It's because oftentimes we're way more connected to social media and celebrities and whatever else in the internet world than we are to those we live with. How sad is that, right? Family connection is simply connecting to who you're with in your homes with your family. Now, there's lots of different stages of family life, some with kids, with spouse, alone. There's all kinds of different things, but everybody is connected somehow to family. And especially in a pandemic year, many of those connections might have to be more virtual. But picture this in your mind as IKEA did. They're obviously selling tables here, but the dinner table, the breakfast table is a great place for family connection. And you don't need any experience and you don't need any kind of degree. You just need to want to connect. So now we're going to do a quick example, a quick activity. And I've got my trusty phone here, and I'm going to give you guys 15 seconds to answer a very simple question. So take out a piece of paper, take out your phone, take out your laptop, whatever you're using. I just want you to write down your response to this question. The question is, describe your family in 3 words. All right, again, describe your family in 3 words. I'm going to give you 15 seconds. On your mark, get set, go. Whatever comes to your mind, there's no right or wrong answer for this. Describe your family in 3 words. Okay, just a couple more seconds. And stop. Okay, I know that was pretty quick, but what did you guys end up writing down? If you're with your family or you're virtually going to connect with them soon, it would be interesting for you guys to do this activity and see what people wrote. We did this a couple months ago as our family, and my wife and I with our 5 kids, oldest is 16 and then on down to 6. We did this activity, and 4 out of the 7 of us all wrote a variation of the word adventurous. And that to me was really interesting because that is actually very true to what we do as a family. We try new things, we try new foods, we go new places, we meet new people. That is core. We love new. Our family loves new. And that is core to who we are. So how would you describe your family? If you're at a dinner table, you can do this just like in the IKEA commercial. But family connection is about who you're with and how you're connecting to those existing relationships. So the first principle I want to share is to find safe places to share. We're going to give some maybe not so good examples and then some different examples, ones that might be a little bit better. But as you consider family connection, think about safe places to share. There's lots of places to share, but not every one of those places will bring the same result. Family connection, again, is about connecting who you're with, but that might be a text, that might be online, that might be a chat, that might be an email, that might be a phone call, that might be a dinner table. So find places that are safe to share, because building family connection includes the good and the not so good, the hard, right? Sydney just spent some time talking about hard things and why that matters. This is from a registered nurse, her name is Martha Driesnack. And I actually had the opportunity to hear her talk a couple of years ago. And one of the things I love that she says, and Sydney touches on this, is she says a key element, remember, in these safe spaces for family connection, a key element for both the teller and the listener is the sharing of positive moments alongside the ability to bounce back from the difficult ones. Why is that? Well, because no family has it all figured out, and no family doesn't have struggles. And to build resiliency in kids and to teach them and help them understand, I think one of the worst things a parent can do is protect the kid from everything that they're worried about might happen to them in the world. We need to be good parents and help our kids and build our kids, but we can't protect them from everything. And sometimes they need some hard while they're still at home, so we can help them navigate that, because parents have seen more of the world. They've seen more things than their kids have. So the positive moments alongside the ability to bounce back from the difficult ones. It's not staying difficult and just do hard. It's bouncing back, resiliency. So there's been a ton of studies done on this, and I'm not just trying to point out Instagram, but this is an article from a couple of years ago, and the title is "Why Instagram is the Worst Social Media for Mental Health." In fact, if you do some Google searches and you say, is Instagram good for, and you just leave it blank, what it will autofill with is pretty insightful and pretty interesting. And if Google autofills with anything, guaranteed there are people that are doing those searches somewhere in the world. So what they did is they did this study in the UK, and they went in and they talked to a bunch of different young people, and they analyzed Instagram, and they did surveys and they did reports. And a lot of the women in particular, these young women, said that this ability to feel like you have to compete with what you see online and what you see in Instagram is so high, there's a negative self-perception. It's seen in males too, but they really point out in the study that a lot of the girls that they just felt that they couldn't measure up and that they couldn't get to that level. There's another article, I believe, from the BBC as well, and another one even from Wired, and they talk about this thing. If you've got some time, you should Google doom scrolling. That's something I hadn't heard of. So doom scrolling is this concept where it's 10 o'clock at night, you're trying to go to bed and you're scrolling, and then it's 11:30 at night and you're still scrolling, and then it's 1 a.m. and you're still scrolling. And they call this doom scrolling because there isn't really a point. It's just a whole bunch of images of what you don't have. So if you have a family connection that you're trying to build, you're trying to teach to your kids, you're trying to share with someone, social media might not be the best place, and that might not be the safest place to throw all of that, especially in mass. You might think about what that safe space might look like for you. So Dolph Lundgren, this is a great TED Talk. You guys should look up all this stuff. But Dolph Lundgren is from the movie Rocky IV. He fights Rocky Balboa, and he goes through and gets really autobiographical in this TED Talk. How many TED Talks that you've seen have a title that has anything to do with healing and forgiveness? Well, Dolph does, and it's really interesting because he goes in, I won't spoil the whole thing, but the beginning, he talks about being raised in Sweden as a little boy. He was abused. His father beat him. He remembers one time he was hit so hard, he was bleeding, and he woke up to his mom crying. He eventually went up in northern Sweden and eventually went to the States to escape that. He said, but before that happened, he said a piece of him froze with that abuse and that pain. He said, a part of me froze. I think that's a really interesting phrase. Later in life, he gets married, he has some daughters, but that frozen piece of him never actually gets taken care of. And he finds himself in a really, really difficult place. And he ends up losing his marriage. He ends up losing his relationship with his daughters as well. And in that suffering and in that pain, he meets someone else who recommended two things. He says there's two things that helped him. Meditation was number one. And then the second thing that helped him was professional help, getting help. He went in, he had therapy. He met with someone and started to talk about his past, started to understand it. He did meditation. And in that therapy and meditation, he was able to heal himself, and he was able to get right with himself. And he talked to his ex-wife, talked with his girls, and repaired a lot of those relationships. And then he gives some advice towards the end of his talk, but Dolph isn't really that different from all of us. There's all things, I would say, that maybe are still frozen in all of us. And part of that healing will have to do with our family. It's really interesting. If you watch it to the end, he even gets to the point at the end. He said, I got to the point where I finally forgave my dad. How many of us live with that pain, but haven't ever taken care of it or had those conversations? So Instagram, Snapchat, maybe not the best place, maybe not the safest place for that family connection. Maybe some professional help, maybe a trusted friend, maybe a spouse. It's not bad to talk about hard or difficult. What's bad is to stay frozen. So as Dolph recommends, there are ways that we can navigate that and build stronger family connections. So now I want to segue into a new section. We've talked about safe spaces, safe places, and now I want to talk about documenting family connections. So you might be thinking, well, you just said like, talk about it, right? Is that it? I think that's part of it. But there's also another angle, I think, that's documenting it. Now, you could document it on social media, or you could document it in your journal, or you could document it a number of different places. You could put it on, I don't know, Google Photos or Dropbox or something like that. But one of the things that's helpful, and at least in my case, when I've had big changes or difficulties or struggles, I've found a lot of healing as I've tried to write about those experiences, to journal. I digital journal. I sometimes even write. I journal in Excel sometimes because I've got this approach where I try to do a worksheet in Excel, and I do 365 lines, and I try to do a line a day for the whole year. And I've been doing it actually for about a decade now, and it's searchable and I can find stuff pretty quickly. But a line a day. There's lots of different ways to document family connection, and I'm going to share just a couple of them with you right now. Before I show you, I want to do this other quote. Bruce Feiler is someone he's an author. He just put out a new book, Life's in the Transitions. Actually met him earlier this year at Rootstock, the conference that this is part of, and had a very, very brief conversation with him for a couple of minutes. But he's written some great works and great books. A couple of years ago, he did an article called The Stories That Bind Us, and he published that in the New York Times. Since Bruce is from Georgia, he cites a lot of information that comes out of Emory University and talks about Robin Fivouche and Marshall Duke and several of those people who've done a lot to talk about resiliency, especially in kids. And he wrote this after he cited a lot of research from Emory. He said, the single most important thing that you can do for your family may be the simplest of all. Develop a strong family narrative. Okay, does that mean you have to write like a 10-page thing on family narrative? Maybe it's in your photos on your wall. Maybe you've got a family creed or a mission statement like a business would. There's lots of different ways to do it. We have an Ashby motto, an Ashby creed that we share with each other, with our kids, builds that family identity, family unity. But developing a strongly family narrative, what do you need for that? You need a dinner table and maybe a couple of pieces of paper, and you can do the activity we did at the beginning of this class. You can build family narratives that are strong through very simple exercises. What matters to our family? What is it that we do? Our family, we do new things, we try new things. That's core to who we are. What is that for you? Strong family narrative. It's not as hard as you might think. So FamilySearch.org is a great place where you can put memories, and you can upload them, thousands of them. You can upload what you want, and it's totally free. Family Search is a free place to learn about your family, to do genealogy, to do research, but it's also a free place for living memory. Now, what I'm showing you right here, there's other classes in this conference that will talk about this. I'll be doing some of them as well. But what you're seeing here is a very simple photo of our family, and we're at the Golden Gate Bridge. Well, there's an ability now of Family Search to take a photo and do an audio commentary on it. So what we did was we got the picture, and then what we did is we got all the kids together, and we just got headphones like I'm wearing, and we said, guys, what do you remember about the bridge in San Francisco when we went there? And we just kind of passed the headphone around. And the funniest of all was our little boy, Jensen, who was 4 at the time. And he said, I thought I was going to get blown over and die. And then our daughters mentioned a couple of things, and it was really fun. And the neat thing about that photo now is it's not just a photo, but it's actually a photo with voices, because it's been clinically proven that the older kids get, the more their voices change, and they will not talk that way ever again. So if you've got littles at home, record their voices, because that's part of the family narrative. That's part of family connection. So that's one thing we did. Another one on the other side of this screen is my grandma. She's passed away. But one of the things that she did is she always made us laugh. I remember going up to, I grew up in Arizona. I remember we would go north into southern Utah, and we'd go to her house, and she would say, Devin, go get me a leaf off the lilac tree. And then I'd bring it to her, and she'd actually play it. She'd play songs on a lilac leaf. And we would just laugh and scratch our heads and try to figure out how she was doing that. Another thing she would always do is she would sing something called the pig song. And she would in the song, and we would just laugh and laugh and laugh. And I remember a couple years ago, I put something out on Facebook to a couple of my cousins, and I said, does anybody have the pig song from Grandma? And before the day was over, I had a link to the video that someone had done that I didn't do. And I didn't throw that YouTube link into Family Search or throw it on YouTube. What I did is I got the funny photo of her, and I did the same thing. I grabbed my phone, and I went into the app and went into her memories page. And then I hit record, and from my laptop on Facebook, I sucked in the pig sounds. I sucked in the pig songs. So now I've made that photo richer with her voice and with her song. And now anybody that's connected to her at Family Search can hear that song. And it's a childhood memory to me that's wonderful and still makes me laugh to this day. So Family Search is a place where you can do living memories as well as build your tree up the generations. So those are some ideas on how to document family connection. So we're wrapping up with this class, and I hope it's been helpful. This is who we are. This is our family, and it's not anything crazy, but this is a good example of being adventurous. We flew back east to Virginia earlier this year, and we went to a whole bunch of places we'd never been. We went to a beach in North Carolina we'd never seen. There were so many. It was a vacation of firsts, but we loved it, and we grew as a family, and we built stronger family connection. And we all talk to this day about how adventurous that was. Our kids, we asked them about the activity. The whole time we were doing this, I would ask them, what have you learned? What are you seeing? And one of our daughters said, I've learned that fireflies are real. Our 6-year-old said, I know what humidity is now, right? My other daughter, she's 11, and she said, frog legs taste like chicken. We've never had those before. So this is an adventurous photo, right? Because that's who we are and what we do. There's been difficulties, like every family, like Dolph, like hard, like Sydney talked about. And we've had experiences with those as well. But we bounce back, we rebuild, and we build that family narrative. So coming full circle back to Ikea, my big invitation is to pull up your dinner table and don't talk about the world, don't talk about social media, just talk about your family and build family connection. That's what's most important. So again, my name is Devin. Hopefully this has been helpful. Buckle up now, because Olivia is going to talk to you about a new series of activities called the Connection Experiment, which will just add more layers of family connection. So thanks for your time and enjoy.